back and joining us again this week. And we've got kind of a special show in the respect that we have a special guest we're going to be introducing here momentarily. And I haven't really mentioned this to our audience yet, but we're going to talk about and play a two-part song, which you girls introduced on the show here, I don't know, it was a month or two ago. And we're going to play that. And then we're going to play part two, which isn't even released yet. So we've got a lot of fun things to do. First off, though, let's meet our guest, girls. If you would introduce our guest and your collaborator to us.
Okay, so you want us to introduce him?
Well, I thought he's your friend. You could introduce him to us, and then he'll be our friend.
Okay, well, we just adore this man. To be honest with you, the crazy thing is we've never even spoken with him, but we've been in communication, on social media, pretty much messages. Yeah, pretty much every day. And he's an amazing speaker. He speaks publicly. He's a motivator. He's motivated us. And he's also an amazing writer and songwriter. And he has a great heart and a great sense of humor. Awesome sense of humor. Yes. And so we just adore him. And we've never even spoken. So this is we're so excited. So without further ado, is Kicking Eagle there? Woohoo!
Yeah, I'm right here, and after that introduction, I'll tell you what, the show's over.
You're right, that's a tough act to follow.
I'll tell you, it's hard to live up to all that, David.
Well, I don't know. From what I've seen and heard, I think you're going to be able to pull it off. I'm reasonably confident about that, and I think that's really a special occasion. Now, that was something I wasn't aware of, is the fact that you folks have never spoken before, and of course, before I spoke briefly with the Kicking Eagle when his call came in earlier, a few minutes ago, we had never spoken. So this is really quite a greeting, quite an occasion for all of us to actually be sitting here talking together for the very first time. And I know I'm jazzed about it. How about you, John Bon Jovial?
Yeah, I think it's great that we finally have this gentleman on the show with us because. Do I call you Kicking? Do I call you Mr. Eagle?
A few million people know me as Eagle.
All right.
I've been called many other things we can't mention on the air.
Well, don't feel like the Lone Ranger. We all have. But no, Eagle, we've heard so much about you, and we're just so happy to have you with us. And you'll have to forgive my nasaliness. Here in Florida, the native pine trees are blooming right now, and it just kills me every year. And sure enough, history is repeating itself. So I'm going to keep my yak to a minimum.
And that's, believe me, that's pretty much a first. That doesn't happen really any more often than when they keep my talking to a minimum. So we'll take the ball and run with it there. Now, Eagle, I understand you have several books out. I know you have one, The Legend Begins, which I'm told is entering its 11th printing, and obviously has been read by a lot of people around the world. I'm also told that you founded CountryBandstand.com and WorldRockabillyCoalition.com websites, that you've been a personal manager and promoter for that and a few other titles, to several stars, rising stars as well as legends. You've promoted records over the years, and we won't get into the number of years because that's only a number, and I don't know about you, but I don't care to think about my number. But I understand you were born at a very early age. You have had quite an active and productive career. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I've done a lot of things in my life. David, a lot of boys, as they grow up, they want to be a cowboy, or they want to be an Indian, or they want to be a police officer. They want to do, all these different things, and they dream about it. Well, I just went ahead and did it. I've done it all, and I don't mean that bragging or complaining, but it's kind of like being a songwriter or writing books. Anyone that does that must be willing to suffer the consequences. You know, but
that's true.
I've enjoyed it all. When I was a little kid, I was always the little kid. I was about a head shorter than everybody else all through school, and while they were playing football and basketball and things, I was pretty much writing poems that later turned into songs and books and so forth and so on. I read a lot of commentaries, and of course I on Facebook every day there's plenty of quotes from me. I don't know if you've been able to get there yet, but
I've seen a few.
Yes. The thing about it, David, is that I write these things. They come to me. I always say God writes them. I write them down, and that goes for the songs and the books too. But I've heard from so many people all over the world. And I'm giving God the credit for this, but I'm just saying that I'm just kind of like the extension cord. But I hear from so many people that even one of my one-liners, they say that they didn't do something that, of course they shouldn't have done, and that's why they're still here. And it's really hard to quit when you hear things like that,
Absolutely, but that does keep you going.
Yeah, I've heard it from people all over the world, places I never even heard of. And but I love what I do, and as a motivational speaker, I would talk 9 days a week for free the rest of my life. If I had, you have bills on the road, at home, and at the office. You know what I'm saying? So
sure.
I can't quite
do
that, but I've been hollered at by public relation people for doing too much sometimes, and again, I don't mean that as a complaint, but it's just sometimes you just got to give away a book, or you got to go talk free,
Absolutely, I know what you're saying there. I want to move on here so that we get to everything, and I want you three collaborated on this, so I'm going to take a volunteer, whoever wants to jump in here, and tell us a little bit about how this tune, Christmas in July for April, came to be. Who's going to volunteer?
Well, I guess I better start it off.
Ready?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. What'd she say?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, I actually wrote this song some time back. It's been kind of like the lady said about the last song, been a long time in the holding. And I wrote it. It was a tear-jerking song when I wrote it. I actually cried to tears as I wrote it. And are you still there, David?
Yes, I am.
Anyway, I wrote the song down as it came to me, and I actually wrote it for a particular person at that time, and but it just didn't come about because we were in different parts of the country at the time, and different things happened, and it just didn't happen. And I held on to that song all this time, just waiting for the right artist to show up. And then after I met the Smith Sisters, I actually was promoting for a radio station, and I was doing a lot of promotion for different songs and so forth. And I liked their songs. And later on, as we got to knowing each other better and all, then I had these songs that I held on to, and they just loved them. So it just kind of, that's the way we all got together, was, that the songs are something that they should have cut. It's just as if they had written them for them.
Right.
And, there's three other of my songs on that album that came out. It's actually an extended CD.
And I hope we get a chance to talk about that. But now is a good time for us to go right to the song, because you've talked about it so well, and it is such a touching and emotional song. Let's listen to Christmas in July for April.
April was the little girl who used to live next door. I knew her for a lifetime, though she was only 4. She was such a lovely child, happy all the time. Long before she went away, I thought of her as mine. She had a smile for everyone. She seemed so full of love. We knew she had a special gift straight from God above. She brought smiles to faces that had never smiled before. If she had been my own little girl, I couldn't have loved her more. I was working in my yard one day. April came and said to me,
Miss Kelly, could you help me please? I need a Christmas tree.
It struck me kind of funny, but a tear came to her eye. Something said, go find a tree, though it was mid-July. I took a drive and found a tree, not knowing the reason why, or what little April had in mind with Christmas in July. She looked so bright and cheerful on that summer day. When I brought the tree to her, she wanted me to stay. And we had Christmas in July for April. Yes, we had Christmas in July for house was filled with neighbors I didn't understand. Then her mom walked up to me and took me by the hand. She said, thanks so much for coming. You see, April's always known she wouldn't have much time on earth till God would take her home. We were told when she was born she wouldn't have long to live, but she had a lot of happiness and so much love to give. She seems to know that time is short before she'll say goodbye. Now you know the reason for Christmas in July. And we had Christmas in July for April. Yes, we had Christmas in July for April.
Christmas in July for April. Smith Sisters Bluegrass. Thank you very much, ladies, and thank you, Kicking Eagle, for sharing that song and story with us. And I want to ask the girls, if I can right now, I'd like to know, when you first heard about the song, when you heard obviously when you read the lyric, because there wasn't a song to hear right then, but when you first got the message of this song, what was your impression?
Well, we heard it, actually. He did send us a little, a demo.
Great.
A man singing it, and it was just like, it made me cry, and I totally connected with it. I know Wendy did, too, totally. And so it was like, at the time, though, he was sending us many songs, and every song was so good that I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to record every single one of them, but I didn't want to be greedy, And I'm a songwriter, so, I have songs, like many songs that I haven't even recorded, but when I heard his songs, I'm like, we have to record them. And, they're so good and so touching, and this one, well, every song is just so great, but this one in particular just really hit home with me.
This one does, really.
It could help. And, the lost children or, that kind of thing. And I thought, or just lost anybody. And so fell in love with it and we had to record it. So,
especially if you've been down that road where you've known that you were going to lose someone, and